So the review on here wants you to identify if it's true or false, then simplify if the exponent is 5 or less, and then show all work. If the answer is false, give the correct answer. So looking here, the bases are the same. We've got a division symbol here, but this is we're dividing the exponents. We don't divide the exponents. We actually subtract the exponents. So this would have been false. So let's make it correct. So 5 to the 6th power is what it should have been. Over here, the same base, so we add the exponents. When we add the exponents, that original problem was false. That is incorrect. This one, it's a power raised to a power. Well, it would be false because the bases aren't the same. So we would either need to change this so that it says x to the 7 times 4, or we would have had to change this so it would be that. Here, it is also false because this should have parentheses around it. Okay, this one, we would add the exponents. If we add the exponents, look at that, it is true. This one, we're supposed to write down our base and subtract the exponents. They did not do that, so it is false. So it should be 8 to the 11th power. Anything to the 0 power, except for 0, is 1. Well, let's look at this. We have -4 times -4 times -4 times -4. These two together get 16. These two together get 16, and that is 256. Okay, let's come over here. I'm going to say that this is false. I write down my base, I subtract my exponents. If I subtract my exponents, I do get an exponent of 1, but I do not get that the full answer is 1. The full answer is 4. This one, I'm going to say no. This would be false. We write down our base, we subtract our exponents. If I subtract my exponents, I get -13, which means move and make me positive. This one, I write down the base, I add the exponents. When I add the exponents, I would get to the 3rd power, which is 8. So this one was also false. This one, anything raised to the power of 0 except for 0 is true, or is 1, sorry. Here, I write down my base, I subtract my exponents. When I subtract my exponents, I would get 4, so this was a false statement. Sorry about that. Here we go, same base, raise, or this is multiplication, so I add my exponents, I get 8 to the 14th, so this was a true statement. This one, power raised to a power, I multiply, I would get to the 30th power, so this was a false statement. This one, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is a true statement. This one, I have bases that are the same. There's multiplication, so I add my exponents. X to the 13th power. This one, I write down my base. I subtract my exponents. I get 7 to the 12th. So this was a false statement. This one, anything raised to the 0 power is 1, except for 0. That is a false statement. This one right here, -5 times -5 times -5 times -5. This would get me 25 times 25, which is 625. So this was a true statement. This one, I write down my base, I subtract my exponents, I get 4 to the -1, which is 1 over 4 to the first. So this was a true statement. This one, 8 to the -3 minus a -7. So that would get me 8, that turns to plus sign, to the 4th power. So 8 times 8 times, oops, that was a horrible 8. 64 times 64, and no, I don't know that off the top of my head. Do have to use a calculator for it. So 64 times 64 will get me a true statement. That is true. This one, I write down my base, I add my exponents. So this would get me 8 minus 6, which is 6 to the 2nd power, which is 36. So that is a true statement. This, anything raised to the 0 power except for 0 is a 1, so that is a true statement. Okay, so again, we're going to evaluate. So I subtract my exponents. Minus minus, we never believe in minus minus, so that will get me x to the 16th power. This would get me 10 minus 10 as an exponent, so that would be 0, as long as x does not equal 0. This one, 8. I add my exponents, which is the same as 10 minus 4, so that's 8 to the 6th power. This one, I write down my base, I add my exponents. Oh, my bases are totally different. They're not the same. So this would get me 27 over 36, and now I can simplify it. 3 goes into, 9 goes into both of these. So 9 goes into this 3 times, 9 goes into this 4 times, so my answer is 3/4. Over here, my bases are the same. I add my exponents, I get p to the 10th power. I subtract my exponents. So that would give me, that's plus, so y to the 10th power. Over here, so I have to do it in stages. Power raised to a power, oops, I didn't mean to write that. So 2 to the 4 times 2. On the bottom, we would add our exponents. So I get 2 to the 8th over 2 to the 6th. So then 2 to the 8 minus 6, which is 2 squared, which is 4. This one, my m to the 10th stays as it is. I subtract my exponents. Remember, there's an invisible 1 there. So that would get me m to the 10th, n to the -4. So I can't have that negative exponent. So I move it to the denominator. Next one. Remember, we do coefficients first. So that would give me -7. Then I have my x's, so I would do 5 minus -8. Y, -2 minus -4. And z, remember there's a 1 there, 22 minus 1. So I get -7. Remember that turns to a plus sign. That's 13. This turns to a plus sign, so that would be squared. And z to the 21st. Here, coefficients. This is multiplication, so 4 times 3 times -4. Then I have a squared, a to the 6th, and a to the 1st. I have b, and I have b to the 5th. So that would get me -48. I would add my exponents. Oops, I didn't mean to write h. So I would get negative 48, a to the 9th, b to the 6th. Over here, I do what's inside the parentheses first. So I would add the exponents first. I would get 4 to the 6th power raised to the 2nd power. So then I would multiply my exponents, and I would get 4 to the 12th power. Here, I have 4 and 8 as my coefficients. I have a to the 6th plus negative 2. I have b to the negative 5 plus 1. That'll get me 32, a to the 4th, b to the negative 4, and we can't have negative exponents, so this is going to move. So 32, a to the 4th over b to the 4th. Over here, power raised to a power, remember? So 7 to the 1 times 2, x to the 3 times 2, y to the 6 times 2, z to the 1 times 2. So 7 squared, x to the 6th, y to the 12th, z to the 2nd, which is 49, x to the 6th, y to the 12th, z to the 2nd. This one, all I have to do is have an exponent of 1 and multiply it because it's a power raised to a power. So I have 3 to the 3rd over 4 to the 3rd, which is 27 over 64. This next one, power raised to a power, 4 times 5. So 20. Bases are the same. We have multiplication, so we add the exponents. Y to the 10th. We have division, same base, so we subtract the exponents. Bases are the same. We have division, so we subtract the exponents as long as x does not equal 0. This one, bases are the same. We subtract our exponents, we get negative 3. So that's 1 over x to the 3rd. Okay. Next one. Oh, all we have to do is move this one. We don't even have to do anything with it. All we had to do was move it. Okay, now on this one, remember that the exponent of 9 is actually 1, so it doesn't move. Only the k to the 5th moves. Bases are the same, so I add my exponents. Bases are the same, so I subtract my exponents. Bases are the same, we have multiplication, so we add our exponents. Okay, on this one, we've got a few things going on. We have power to a power, so 5 times 6. On the bottom, we have multiplying like bases, so we add the exponents. So I get x to the 30th over x to the 13th. So that's division, so I need to subtract my exponents. And I get, let's see, 17. Okay, on this one, bases are the same. So subtract my exponents. So that's going to turn to a plus sign. So x to the 19th, y to the negative 5. But I can't have that. This needs to move to the denominator. So I get x to the 19th over y to the 5th. This one, look at my coefficients first. That would get me 8. Then I have 12 minus negative 6. Y, negative 6 minus negative 4. Z, 4 minus negative 9. So I get 8x to the, remember that turns to a plus sign, 18. Y, that turns to a plus sign, so negative 2 turns to a plus sign, z to the 13th. Can't have a negative exponent, so it's going to move downstairs. 8x to the 18th, z to the 13th, over y squared. Okay. I multiply my coefficients and I get 15. I add my exponents. Remember there's a 1 there. 15x to the 9th. Here, we have something going on in the inside, so I need to add my exponents. So that would get me 5 to the 10th raised to the 4th. So now I have a power raised to a power, so I need to multiply my exponents. This one, it's just multiplication, so I multiply. 4 times 3 gets me 12, x to the negative 5 plus 8, y to the 9 plus 1, because that's an invisible 1, z to the negative 6 plus 4. So I would get 12, x to the 3rd, y to the 10th, z to the negative 2. Again, that needs to go down below. So I get 12x to the 3rd, y to the 10th, over z squared.